Hello again. I'm going to be taking a look today at princess.loot.pixel.again. It's a roguelite platformer currently in alpha state on Steam. The price right now is $5, but it has been cheaper in one of the Indie Gala bundles. In this game, you attempt to make your way to the top of a castle to save the princess. Each level of the castle is comprised of several different rooms that are all attached together and is randomly generated each time you play the game. Some of the levels have a boss fight at the end that require you to finish before moving on. Like most roguelites, you only get one life for each attempt at the game. There are 4 selectable characters. There's a warrior, wizard, archer, rogue, and there are more characters that are going to be added later to the game per the developer. Each character has different stats and playstyles, including different secondary weapons. The knight, for example, has better stats and power and defense, while the rogue has better speed and better crit abilities. The first character I tried was the warrior. His primary weapon is a sword that has a pretty good reach, and his secondary weapon is a boomerang. All secondary weapons in the game use mana, which doesn't regenerate on its own, so as you're playing along you have to find refills for it. The warrior has a shield which blocks projectile weapons automatically, but the shield does have limited durability, so if you use it too much you're going to have to find a new one as you're playing the game. One of the standout features of the game is the controls. I was using a 360 controller, and all the moves and abilities were nicely mapped to the controller. It felt natural. Movement and jumping in the game was precise. Not once while I was playing the game did I feel that I lost because the controls weren't right. I never jumped too far or fell into a pit that it wasn't my fault and not the game. So for a game that has one life per attempt, controls are really important, and this game just nailed it with that. The game looks retro, which isn't surprising since the word pixel is in the title. Overall, the levels look nice and start to change color palettes as you get through the game. The enemies are pretty generic though. There's ghosts, skeletons, and fireballs. The ghosts, as I got later in the levels, they changed colors, so I was hoping there would be a little more variety in the game. Now, maybe I didn't play far enough because I never came close to beating the castle in any of my attempts, so there's the chance that as the game progresses there will be different monsters to see. The 2 boss encounters I ran into were fun. The first boss was a large set of floating eyeballs who traveled in a pattern across the screen. They looked nice. They were super big compared to my character, so that was nice that they weren't just little tiny things. They were big and it looked like a boss. It felt like a boss. The second boss was a floating stone head that shoots lasers from its eyes and has fists that try to pulverize you into the ground. The stone head boss was a much more fun encounter because there was more than just trying to avoid the boss. You had to avoid the lasers, you had to time it so you ran under the fists, and it was a fun encounter, and I hope as the game progresses that the further bosses in the games also increase that difficulty. Speaking of difficulty, this game seems a little bit on the easy side for a roguelike game. Now for someone like me, that's a bonus because I suck at these games and I don't enjoy games where I die over and over. But for a game that bills itself as a roguelite, I can see fans of the genre maybe wanting the difficulty increased to get enjoyment out of the game. And now there were no cheap deaths in the game, which I appreciate. And by cheap, I mean I never moved into a new room and suddenly the floor disappeared out from under me and I fell into a pit because I didn't have that instant reaction to jump. All the deaths I had, they were fair. It's because I didn't get out of the way in time, or I just screwed up. It was never the game's fault. There are items in the game you can buy to equip your character, which does help add a sense of progression. My wizard character, which was my second character I attempted, he got a new staff and he got new armor that I purchased with coins that you find in the game. And what I found really nice about it was as I equipped the new equipment, it actually changed the look of my character. So my robe changed color. When I got a new staff, it looked completely different. And all of that does help add to the sense of progression, and it's something I enjoyed. It was a really nice touch that the developer chose to do that because there is a wide variety of weapons and armor that you can purchase. So it was extra work for the developer, and I appreciate the fact that they did that. The last thing I wanted to discuss was the lack of descriptions on some of the items in the game and the lack of communication the game gives you when you have these items. Some of the items are, and they're called artifacts, some of them are just upgraded weapons, and it's self-explanatory. It'll say sword +2, so yeah, that one's easy to figure out, but there are other artifacts. Like there was one that was a night vision goggle that You pick it up and it's in your inventory, but I can't tell that it did anything different, and I couldn't figure out any way to equip it and use it. And that wasn't the only one. There were other things I found. It's like, I don't understand what it is I'm supposed to be doing with this in the game, and I don't know if that's because that feature just isn't in yet, or I didn't play the game long enough. But for me, I found it frustrating that I'm finding this cool stuff that doesn't carry over when you die, and I find it and I don't know what to do with it. So that was really a negative in my experience with the game. One particularly bad experience I had was, again, with my wizard character. As I was playing the game, I bought in one of the stores you run into a new secondary spell. And the spell was awesome. It shoots 3 fireballs instead of 1. The fireball was a different color from your default one, and it was great. I went to another store and it had another upgrade. So I purchased that and equipped it, and it was a new magic spell. The first time I go to use it, it didn't do anything. It didn't. I was hitting the right button. The game just it wouldn't do anything. I don't know if it was because I didn't have enough mana. I had enough mana for my previous spells, but nothing in the game was telling me why this thing that I spent my hard-earned coins on wasn't working. And for me, that was it ruined my playthrough, because I had an awesome weapon before, awesome secondary weapon, and now I had one that didn't even work. So again, I don't know if that's just a lack of feature or a lack of my understanding of the game, but it was a pretty big negative on my experience. So overall, I spent a few bucks on the game and I had fun. I definitely don't think it's ready for prime time yet in terms of the monster variety, the difficulty, or features, but the game is a work in progress and it does show promise. So take a look at it, see if you like it, and thanks everybody.